My father gave away my future to my cousin, and it shattered me. Stay with me as I tell you what happened. And if this story moves you, please support our channel. Subscribe, hit that like button, and share it with the ones you love. My name is Emily Carter. I'm 19 years old. For as long as I can remember, I poured myself into building a future. I wasn't born into wealth. My childhood was ordinary, never luxurious, but enough. From early on, I knew if I wanted anything, I'd have to earn it myself. So I spent late nights buried in books, skipped out on parties, and juggled part-time jobs all through high school just to stay afloat. Whenever my dad, Mark Carter, saw me hunched over my work, he'd squeeze my shoulder and say how proud he was. I believed him. I thought he was always in my corner. So when the letter arrived saying I had been accepted into my dream university, with a scholarship, I felt everything I had worked for finally paid off. I cried reading it. My mom held me tight, and my dad's eyes even glistened with tears. He told me I deserved it. I truly believed my future was secure. Then there's my cousin, Madison Carter, though everyone calls her Maddie. She's 20, just a year older than me, but we couldn't be more different. While I scraped and saved every dollar, Maddie partied, shopped, and coasted on whatever her parents handed her. She always had to be the center of attention, and if she wasn't, she'd tear someone else down. She hated that I got praise for my grades, mocking me with comments about being a teacher's pet or acting too perfect. One evening, a few weeks after I got my scholarship, I came home from a shift at the diner. As I walked toward the living room, I froze. I heard my dad's voice say something I'll never forget. Emily will manage without it. She's resourceful. Maddie needs this chance more than she does. At first, I didn't understand. Then Maddie's voice followed, soft, fake sweet. Thank you, Uncle Mark. I don't know what I'd do without you. My chest clenched. My dad went on, explaining how he had pulled strings, convinced people to transfer not just the scholarship money, but even my admission spot, to Maddie. He said I'd land on my feet, but Maddie deserved a fresh start. I couldn't move. The air felt sucked out of the room. For years, I believed my dad was my biggest supporter. But in a single moment, I realized he had chosen Maddie. Not just chosen her, but stripped away everything I'd worked for and handed it to her, as if my future didn't matter. I wanted to burst in and scream. Instead, I backed away quietly, hands trembling, throat tight. Maddie's smug laughter echoed in my ears, and worst of all, my dad laughed along with her. That cut the deepest. That night, I locked myself in my room and stared at the acceptance letter pinned to my wall. It no longer looked like hope, it looked like a cruel joke. The proof of something I had earned, but would never get. The man I trusted most had sacrificed me for someone who never lifted a finger. Something inside me broke that night. But something else was born too. I promised myself I wouldn't stay broken forever. The next morning, I finally confronted him. My chest felt heavy, my stomach twisted, but I had to ask. I found him in the kitchen, calmly sipping coffee, as if nothing had happened. My hands shook as I asked him why. Why would he do this to me? He didn't flinch. He didn't even look guilty. He set his mug down and said, "Family looks out for each other. Maddie needed it more than you. You'll figure it out, Emily. You always do." It wasn't an explanation. It was a dismissal. Like my pain didn't matter. Like all the years I had pushed myself meant nothing. I stared at him, waiting for a crack of guilt, for him to take it back. But he just picked up his mug and drank again. My mom walked in halfway through. For a moment, I thought she might defend me. Instead, she kept her head down, busying herself with dishes. Her silence spoke louder than words, she agreed, or didn't care enough to argue. That silence stung almost as much as his betrayal. Later, Maddie cornered me in the hallway when no one was around. She leaned in close, her perfume sharp, her smile sharper. "Guess you weren't cut out for it anyway," she whispered, eyes gleaming with triumph. She didn't even try to hide her delight. She had stolen everything from me, and she wanted me to know she enjoyed it. My cheeks burned, not only with anger, but with shame. Maybe my dad was right. Maybe I wasn't enough. Because if the one person who was supposed to believe in me could toss me aside so easily, what did that say about me? I stayed quiet. I told no one what I overheard. I didn't call Maddie out. I didn't confront my mom for her silence. I swallowed it all. On the outside, I acted like nothing had changed. But inside, something had shattered. The father I once saw as my protector, my hero, was gone. And in the hollow space left behind, something darker was growing. I couldn't forgive him. And I couldn't forgive Maddie. They thought I'd accept it, that I'd let them walk over me. But they had planted something dangerous in me that day. I didn't know when or how, but I knew this much. I wasn't going to let it go. The acceptance letter that once meant the world ended up shoved in the back of a drawer. Instead of preparing for college, I tied on an apron at a greasy diner at the edge of town. The shifts were long, the pay barely enough for gas, but it was all I had left. Every night I came home smelling of burnt fries, while Maddie posted pictures of new clothes, fancy dinners, and weekend trips. At family gatherings, the spotlight was hers. My dad bragged endlessly about her, about how proud he was. He didn't even glance at me. If I mentioned my job, he brushed it off like it wasn't worth hearing. I had become invisible in my own family, replaced by Maddie and her shiny facade of success. And she didn't stop there. Soon, people I'd known for years began whispering. A friend from high school quietly asked if it was true I had dropped out because I couldn't handle it. Another hinted I was too lazy to keep up. The words cut deep, but I knew exactly who spread them. Maddie's poison spread fast. She painted me as the bitter cousin who couldn't stand her success. And people believed her. Friends who once texted me stopped reaching out. Invitations vanished. At first, I tried to defend myself, but the more I explained, the more desperate I sounded. Eventually, I stopped trying. I went to work, came home, and kept to myself. It was easier than fighting a battle when the crowd already belonged to her. But silence didn't mean surrender. While Maddie flaunted her wins, I kept my eyes open. I watched. I listened. Every careless brag, every little slip, every shortcut she took, I remembered. At night, lying awake in the dark, I replayed her smirk, my dad's proud grin, my mom's silence. The anger inside me wasn't fading, it was sharpening. They thought they had erased me, but they hadn't. I wasn't finished. Somewhere inside me, I began piecing together a path forward. Not just to reclaim what had been taken, but to show everyone the truth about who Maddie really was. One slow afternoon at the diner, as I was topping off coffee cups and wiping down tables, a new face walked in. He carried a stack of heavy textbooks, his eyes shadowed with exhaustion, like someone who hadn't slept in days. I handed him a menu, and he offered me a weary smile. His name was Jake Thompson, a law student from the nearby university. Before long, he became a regular. Same booth, same order, black coffee and fries. His books always spread out in front of him. At first, our conversations were light, casual. But one evening, after the dinner rush had quieted, he asked why I always looked so worn down. There was something in the way he said it, gentle, curious, that made me open up. For the first time, I told someone everything. I spoke about the scholarship, about Maddie, and about my father's choice. Jake listened without interrupting, without dismissing me, without telling me to just let it go like so many others had. When I finished, he leaned in and said, "If what you're saying is true, you can prove it. People like that always leave a trail." His words hit me like a spark. Prove it. Not just endure it, prove it. From that night on, I began collecting everything. Whenever Maddie flaunted new clothes or vacations, I tracked where the money came from. Whenever my dad gave her special treatment, I wrote it down. Every detail went into a notebook I kept hidden beneath my bed. Meanwhile, I worked harder than ever. Extra shifts, late nights. Every dollar I saved felt like one step closer to freedom. In between, I searched online for programs, grants, schools, opportunities untouched by my father's reach. Jake became my guide. He showed me how to organize my notes, how to separate rumor from fact. He believed me in a way no one else had. And little by little, I began believing in myself again too. I wasn't just clinging to a dream anymore. I was building a case, preparing for the day I would reveal the truth. And in those quiet moments after closing, grease still on my hands and my notebook full of secrets, I made myself a promise. They would regret underestimating me. It didn't take long for Maddie's shine to start fading. She had the grades and the admission that should have been mine, but instead of using it, she treated it like a toy. Nights out drinking, mornings wasted in bed, excuses for why she couldn't make class. That became her routine. The proud stories my dad repeated at gatherings didn't match what I saw. At first it was small things. Envelopes arriving with Maddie's name, but my father's address. Bills piled on the counter, credit card statements, loan notices, all under his name. She was spending recklessly, piling debt she had no intention of paying. I carefully slipped a few letters into my bag and added them to the growing file Jake was helping me build. Still, my dad defended her at every turn. When people wondered why Maddie missed lectures or seemed distracted, he made excuses. She's under pressure, or she just needs time to adjust. And every excuse ended with him opening his wallet. Tuition, rent, clothes, vacations. He covered it all. I stayed quiet, but I watched. I copied receipts, noted every luxury she bragged about, recorded names of people who saw her stumbling out of parties instead of studying. A waitress at a nightclub even told me Maddie kept a tab paid off by an older man. That went straight into the folder too. Every reckless move she made became another brick in the wall she was building around herself. And I was there to record it. The more I gathered, the clearer it became. Maddie wasn't just careless, she was digging her own grave. And my father, blinded by loyalty, was digging right alongside her. They thought no one noticed, that their secrets would stay buried. But I had everything laid out, neat and precise, waiting for the right moment. For the first time since losing everything, I felt like I held the advantage. I didn't need to beg anyone to believe me. I just needed patience. One day, when they least expected it, the truth would shout louder than Maddie's lies. And when that day came, I'd take back the power they thought they had stolen forever. The summer cookout was supposed to be ordinary. Burgers on the grill, kids playing, family catching up. I kept to the edges, setting plates on the picnic table, doing my best to fade into the background. Maddie, of course, had to be the center of attention. She strutted across the yard in a new dress, laughing loudly, spinning stories too big to be true. It wasn't long before she found me. With everyone watching, she tilted her head and asked if I needed extra ketchup packets for my shift at the diner. The smirk on her lips said exactly what she meant. A few cousins laughed nervously, and my father said nothing. My cheeks burned, but I forced myself to stay calm. I smiled, nodded, and kept pouring drinks. I refused to give her the satisfaction of seeing me break. Inside, though, something hardened. If she wanted me to play the family failure, fine. Let her believe that. But I knew I wasn't staying there. I was finished being her target. Later that week, I met Jake at the library after one of his classes. Surrounded by rows of books, I told him I couldn't stay stuck forever. He opened his laptop and showed me applications to out-of-state schools. Places where no one knew my name, where my father's reach couldn't follow. He promised to help with every form, every essay, every step. For weeks, we worked quietly. I balanced double shifts with late nights filling out paperwork, researching programs, polishing applications. It was exhausting, but this time it felt different. I was moving toward something. When the acceptance email arrived, I could hardly believe it. A transfer spot. A scholarship. A real chance. I told no one. Not my mom, not my dad, not even Maddie. I slipped the letter into my notebook, the same place I kept all my evidence. Just holding it gave me strength. I finally had a way out, untouchable. But the tension at home only grew. My dad looked at me with quiet disappointment, as though I had wasted my life. He never once asked what I was really doing. He only believed Maddie's stories, her carefully staged accomplishments. Every proud word he spoke about her was a reminder that he had chosen her side, not mine. I stopped arguing. Let him believe what he wanted. All the while, I held tight to the knowledge that soon, everything would shift, and they wouldn't see it coming. It started with small cracks. Maddie's stories didn't line up. Excuses about assignments that didn't add up. She bragged about professors praising her, but couldn't name a single one. I knew her too well not to recognize when she was covering something. My gut told me she wasn't even going to class anymore. So, with Jake's help, I checked. I contacted the registrar's office myself. The reply came in black and white. Maddie had been dismissed for failing grades and poor attendance. She wasn't enrolled anywhere. The flawless daughter my father always boasted about was nothing more than an illusion. That truth alone should have been enough for me, but I kept digging. One night, when I stopped by his office to return some files he had forgotten at home, I stumbled across receipts and transfers that didn't belong there. Company accounts showed withdrawals that perfectly matched Maddie's extravagant habits: designer handbags, weekend getaways, endless shopping, even bar tabs. It was all right there, quietly siphoned from his business funds. She wasn't just careless. She was stealing from the very man who had given up everything for her. The evidence in my hands felt heavy, undeniable proof that she wasn't just unworthy of the future I had lost, but was actively destroying everything my father had worked to build. Part of me wanted to storm into the living room, slam the papers onto the table, and watch their faces shatter. The shock on my father's face, the panic in Maddie's eyes, the family finally seeing the truth. But deep down I knew it wasn't the right moment. If I revealed it then, she would twist the story, make herself look like the victim, and my father would defend her just like he always had. No, it had to happen when she was at her highest, when she thought nothing could touch her. Only then would the fall be undeniable. So I tucked the registrar's email and those financial records into my folder, locking it tight. I didn't tell a soul, except Jake. Every day I carried that secret like a weapon hidden at my side, waiting for the moment to strike. Patience was brutal. Watching her parade around, acting like she still ruled the world, made my blood boil. But I forced myself to hold back, to smile while she gloated, because I knew, the higher she climbed on her lies, the harder the crash would be once the truth came out. The chance arrived at our family reunion, hosted at my aunt's house. Relatives filled the place, tables overflowing with food, kids racing through the yard, adults swapping stories about jobs, homes, and children. I sat quietly in the corner with a glass of water, listening as my father's voice carried across the room. He was bragging about Maddie again, her dedication, her bright future, how proud he was of her. My mother nodded along, smiling as if his words were scripture. Maddie soaked it in, lounging in her chair with a smug grin, shooting me dagger-like glances. Then she leaned toward me, whispering just loud enough for others to hear. "Don't worry, Em. Some of us just aren't meant for greatness." That was it. I stood. My heart pounded, but my voice stayed firm. I told the room I had something to share. Silence fell. I reached into my bag and placed a neat stack of papers on the table. First, the registrar's letter confirming Maddie's expulsion. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Then, the financial records. Withdrawals from my father's company matching Maddie's reckless spending, overdue bills, unpaid debts, all with her name attached. Maddie jumped to her feet, pale and stammering that it wasn't true. She lunged for the papers, but a cousin snatched them first and read aloud. The more she denied, the more desperate she sounded. Whispers spread. Relatives shook their heads in disbelief. I wasn't finished. I turned to my father and told everyone the rest, that he had stolen my scholarship and handed it to Maddie, that he told people I didn't need it, that I'd figure things out, while he cleared the way for her. His mouth opened, but no words came. He looked between me, the documents, and Maddie, as if he couldn't reconcile what was in front of him. Finally, Maddie broke. She screamed across the table, mascara streaking down her cheeks, calling me a liar, a snake, every insult she could muster. But the evidence sat there in black and white, undeniable. Relatives who once cheered her on now turned away. The room that had always felt stacked against me fell silent under the weight of truth. And my father, always her defender, stood frozen, stripped of excuses, with nothing left to say. In the days after, everything shifted. News spread quickly through the family. The pedestal Maddie had stood on for years collapsed overnight. Aunts and uncles stopped answering her calls. Cousins who once envied her avoided her. Invitations that had always skipped me now skipped her instead. Her entire image had been built on lies, and once those lies cracked, no one wanted to be tied to her downfall. My father didn't escape either. Relatives pressed him with questions. Why sabotage me? Why cover for her? Why gamble with his own daughter's life for someone so unworthy? He had no answers. For the first time, I saw shame in his eyes, but it didn't soften anything. The damage was done, and no apology could erase it. At home, my mother finally spoke. She admitted she had known what my father had done but chose silence, thinking it was for the best, afraid that standing against him would tear the family apart. Her words didn't heal me. They cut just as deep. Her silence had been another betrayal, and I couldn't forgive her either. Through all of it, Jake stayed steady by my side. He reminded me every day that I wasn't defined by their choices, that I had built something of my own, stronger than anything they tried to take. His constant encouragement gave me the courage to finally reveal my secret. One evening, sitting across from him, I pulled out a letter I had hidden away. My acceptance letter. A scholarship. A new university. A fresh start, far away from the chaos of my family. His face lit up when he read it, and for the first time in months, I felt hope return. The next morning I told my parents. My father protested. My mother begged me to stay. But I didn't waver. I had lived in their shadow long enough. Now I was leaving, walking away from the lies, the favoritism, and the burden of their choices. When my bags were packed, my father appeared in the doorway, smaller than I'd ever seen him. His voice was low as he tried to explain. He hadn't meant to hurt me. He thought he was doing what was right. He never imagined it would come to this. I looked at him for a long moment. The man I once trusted above anyone else, then shook my head. You sacrificed me once, I told him, my voice steady. Never again. There was nothing more to say. Whatever bond we once had was already broken, and no apology could rebuild it. He dropped his eyes, realizing I meant every word. Meanwhile, Maddie's world crumbled. With her lies exposed, she had no safety net. Creditors hounded her, unpaid bills piled up, and the so-called friends vanished as soon as the money dried. She begged for help, but no one came, not even my father. The girl who once strutted through life as if she owned it now staggered under the weight of the mess she'd made. I didn't stick around to watch her downfall. My car was loaded. Jake was waiting by the passenger door, grinning with faith in the road ahead. As we pulled away, the house shrank in the rearview mirror. For the first time, I didn't feel chained to it. The highway stretched wide and open, the horizon glowing with promise. I slipped my hand into Jake's and let the hum of the engine steady me. After all the betrayal, the silence, the humiliation, I was free at last. My father may have sacrificed my future for my cousin, but I built something stronger from the ashes. And this time, it belonged only to me. Do you think I was right to walk away? Or should I have given them one more chance? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoy stories like mine, don't forget to subscribe.